family, let's go ahead. Let's dive into this pitch. I promise you guys, when you do a pitch like this, it's going to make all your pitches way more compelling, right? And there's a couple of elements. Probably should have blotted out like whose pitch this is from our clients, but nonetheless, there's a couple of key elements, right? So there's a book called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, where I think he does really good just explaining how the brain works. So that's a really good book to read when it comes to pitching. But check this out, right? So there's a couple of things we're going to do when we pitch to make it as appealing as possible, right? The first part is going to be telling the story. Then we're going to reveal the intrigue. And then we're going to offer in the prize, which is our services. And when we get to that part, we're going to break it down into pillars. So we'll have pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4, right? And this is typically 3 to 5 pillars max. Ideally, you want to be 3 to 4. Really, ideally 3. This one has 4. All right, and then I always temp check at the end. So basically telling the story, as people, we picture everything as stories. And it's really hard for us to grasp the value off of just facts and numbers. Now, I know it's kind of counterintuitive, right? We think if we can show facts and numbers, they can easily see the value. But really, the brain just kind of tunes that stuff out. But when people can see themselves in the story, now they're more likely to be open and receive the full value, right? So I can really start with, hey, I want to tell you a quick story about a recent client of ours. When they came to us, they were overwhelmed with ideas, but had no clear path to turn those ideas into something profitable. Now, this is something I'm giving over to a client to customize. When you guys do this, you actually want to tell a specific story of a specific client, right? You don't want to use something as generic as this. But it was, hey, they didn't know which niche to target, how to structure their course, or how to sell it. Now, within 90 days, we helped them define their strategy, create a high-quality course, launch with a professional brand, and set up an automated sales funnel. They went from confusion to clarity and had their first $20,000 launch in just 2 months. That's what we do, and that's a transformation we can create for you. So I started by telling them what I do with a story. Honestly, most of you guys can do something like that, and it's going to be way better than anything you guys are pitching now. Right? Now, a lot of prospects still want a little bit more detail in it, but that part alone is enough for people like, okay, especially as long as you've done the rest of the sales process leading up to this point well, by the time they ask you, hey, what do you do? Boom, this should be good. But now we're going to amplify it. We're going to reveal the intrigue, right? So let's say something like, the reason we've been so successful is that we don't offer people advice. We handle everything for you. This isn't just another coaching program or course. It's a fully done for you solution. Now I'm going to pause right there because that's huge when you say things like that. Because in their mind, they say, okay, you got these people success, but why? How does that work? How did you get them success? All right, so here's the reason why we're successful. It's because we don't do this. And they can say, okay, I see that. And then we say, I handle everything for you. And that's another thing that appeals to their identity. The biggest buying factor is their identity. That's the biggest buying switch. I might do a video later talking about the 5 buyer switches.
Hey, real quick, I know I'm interrupting your video. Hate to do it, but something amazing just happened. I just launched my book, Mastering Objections, Turning No into Yes, and I'm telling you guys, this is probably the most practical sales book you'll ever read, particularly in the part of sales that throws everybody off, handling objections. I dare you, find a better book. See, you'll be able to go through this book. Doesn't matter what page you open up to, you're going to get game. I give you my scripts, all my word tracks, verbatim on how to handle any objection, all the toughest objections you could think of with class, without being pushy, without being manipulative, just using absolute skills. I've been able to close millions of dollars of deals with these scripts, and they can be yours absolutely free. Just pay the shipping costs. Just click the link in the description. It can be yours. Back to the video.
And the 5 risk factors, but identity is the biggest. So when we say you're going to do everything for you, that's majorly appealing. But then we say this isn't just another coaching program or course. Because we know that our prospects, they're thinking, all right, it's another coaching program, it's going to be another course, whatever. But then when I say that, it's like, okay. And what happens is when the mind thinks it knows what's going to come up next, it automatically tunes it out, right? It just starts pushing aside and they stop paying you attention. But when they're assuming it's one thing and you say, hey, it's not that, it re-engages their brain. And they're like, oh, okay, then what is it? And now they're more receptive to hear what you actually do. All right. So it's a fully done for you solution. Now, imagine having a team of experts take your vision and turn it into a profitable online business. Everything from identifying the right audience to creating the content, branding, and building the sales funnel is all done for you. But here's the kicker. We don't stop there. You'll also have ongoing coaching to ensure your business grows beyond the launch. That's revealing the intrigue. We told the story, boom, captured their attention, revealed the intrigue. Hey, this works because of this. I know you're probably thinking this is this, but it's not that. It's actually this. So just imagine having this result, and we can get you this, this, and this, but that's not all. We can also get you this. Now the intrigue kicks in, but they still don't know, how do you guys do it? So now at this point, they're fully receptive to you pitching your actual programs. And the way we pitch is a specific way. This is unique to this client just because the way we sell their offer, all right? But this is where you go into the pillars. And typically, at the beginning of the call, I make sure, hey, do you have a pen and paper, right? If they don't, all right, hey, go grab one. I'll wait for a second. I'll wait till you get back. We're going to go grab pen and paper. By the time I get to the pillars, I say, hey, so I got 4 pillars, right? So I'll say, hey, you still got that pen and paper with you? They'll say, yeah. I'll say, great. Do me a favor. Number your paper 1 through 4. And now I'm maintaining my control as I go into the pitch. But most importantly, it's making sure I establish and maintain an alpha frame. I'm the alpha, and they're more willing to bend to my will as the alpha. Like I said, read the book, Pitch Anything. It's a great book on pitching. He explains the different frames. It's an amazing book. But the way I pitch in that first part is really based off of his format. Now, this is why I go into my pitch method, where I'm going to pitch each pillar, but the way I do it is in a distinct way. So I tell them, hey, pillar 1 is business strategy and niche analysis. And I try to keep my pillars pretty basic, pretty simple. I know a lot of people like to have these unique mechanisms and stuff, but I've already built the intrigue and all that type of stuff, right? I've done the process, and the way I pitch separates us from everybody else. So instead of using a bunch of unique mechanisms that's going to confuse people, I say stuff in very basic terms that they're going to understand. Business strategy and niche analysis. And then the way I pitch it is you see parts of it in bold. The first thing right here is I'm going to establish the problem, because Cole Gordon does an amazing job explaining this. He's been a huge inspiration for the way I pitch the pillars, because he says it has to be, basically it's the simultaneous explanation of why everything they've done in the past doesn't work and why this is going to be different. So the first thing I got to talk about is the problem, because chances are they've done these things. So I want to establish, hey, this is what you've done. So they say, yeah, I've done all that. Because the last thing you're going to do is pitch them, hey, business strategy and niche analysis. All right, we already have a strategy and already have a niche. Crap, now what? So I have to show them, hey, most people mess up here. This is why they're in this current situation without telling them that. And then say, but this is why we're different. And the way you do that, say, look, when it comes to building a profitable business, here's the problem. Most people try to serve everyone or pick a niche without understanding market demand. And because of that, they end up wasting time, pouring resources into areas with little potential, and ultimately spinning their wheels with no results. That's the problem. Then I use this statement. So instead, what we do is that piece right there. So instead, what we do is. So now we just identified the problem they're probably having, or most people have why they're not successful. And now we're going to completely separate ourselves. So instead, what we do is, analyze your expertise and the market to identify the most profitable niches for you, which allows you to focus on what you're best at while targeting a market that's actively searching for solutions. And ultimately, it means you'll have a clear roadmap to dominate your niche and create a business with real impact and consistent revenue. And then I end by asking, does that make sense? And you'll see an optional piece under here because we ask this at the end of every pillar, but you don't want to at every pillar say, does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's going to get annoying. You're going to sound like an insincere jerk, right? So optional, if I say, does that make sense? Great. Then on the next one, I'm not going to say, does that make sense? I'm going to use the optional question, right? Which is still basically asking the same thing, but just tying down the certainty. So I will say something like, do you feel like having a focused strategy will help you avoid unnecessary trial and error and fast track your success? Something easy for them to say yes to. But I want them to be saying yes and agreeing to each pillar so they can see that this is the quickest, safest, and easiest path to getting to where they want. Right? And then every pillar is set the same way. Pillar 2, online course creation. Look, when it comes to creating a course that actually sells, here's the problem. We'll run to the problems. So instead, what we do is explain our solution. Does that make sense? Right? And we do the same thing. But when you do that, there's a ton of clarity in every single piece of your offer. And they've agreed and said, yep, that makes sense. I can see how that's helpful. Yep, that's exactly what I need. And what it does is it builds up certainty in your offer. And people don't buy when there's uncertainty. So this way is a way of pitching that ensures the prospect is always certain of your solution. And then when I get done, I like to temp check. All right, great. So question I have for you now is, just a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, man, I hate this guy, Jeremy. He just wasted an hour of my time. And 10 being, you know what? I actually think this could help me get to XYZ result. Now, scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? And at this point, I'm looking for ideally a 10. At the very least, I want an ecstatic 8. Anything less than that, I know I screwed up somewhere. Or it's just a really bad fit and we shouldn't even be on the call. But if they're an ecstatic 8, great, love it. Well, hey, we love to over deliver. Just curious, what's keeping it from a 10? Oftentimes they're going to say, oh, it's just the money or it's just the whatever. Yeah. But money aside, how do you feel about the program specifically? And then say, oh yeah, well that's a 10. No, it's just the money, right? Great. I want them to be a 10 certain before I go to pitching the money, right? So that's my pitch framework. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, drop them below in the comments. If there's any specific type of video, any part of the sales process you want me to cover, drop that below as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.